Hey there, and welcome back to the Minny Weekend. I'm your host, Jack. Let's get into it, Minny. Excuse me. Drink of the podcast. So, as you may know, if you listened to the podcast, what was it? Not last week, but 2 weeks ago, we are getting back in touch with our 2 drinks that we have with our bottle caps. Actually, I should be doing a better job putting them all up there for you guys so you have more to look at behind me. But yeah, so this is the other one, not Spring Grove. We did one of theirs 2 weeks ago, but tonight we're doing Jones, and it's a special release. It's one of the craft sodas, Zero Cola, and I have to say it's pretty unique. It tastes similar to like an actual Coke Zero. It has like a flavor of like cinnamon in it, and it feels like a little syrupy, but with the cinnamon little off taste, I don't hate the little thickness of the syrup. It's pretty good. I don't love it. Like, I'm not over the moon about it, but this is something I could get a 12 pack of and could sip on over the course of a month or so. So yeah, like I mentioned a couple weeks ago, if you guys, for those that are relatively newer, Jones Soda is actually they are made actually out of Vancouver, Canada, and it was actually these sodas and everything like that. I can't remember who it was. I should have looked up. I feel so bad. Was actually why we got into these not being made in Minnesota was actually a recommendation from a listener, and yeah, really cool. Really cool company that you can go check it. jonessoda.com. Really cool stuff they have. They're pretty unique. They do a lot of like custom things that you can do, and they have a lot of really cool articles and stuff that you can find on their website. Like I said, jonessoda.com. You can also check them out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Oh, and they actually have a TikTok. I don't think I've seen them on TikTok. We'll have to give them a follow. But yeah, like I said, overall consensus, I like it. And it's funny, the more sips I taste, the initial taste is kind of that thickness, and then the more the aftertaste, it kind of thins out a little bit. And I think that is part of the reason I like this one a little bit more. But yeah, and clearly it's been a while since we've had them. Their website did not look like this last time we came on, so they got some really cool stuff. You can actually customize your own Jones Soda, Jones Soda, so you can pick your label theme, a flavor, put any kind of photo on it, text on it, like you essentially custom this part of it. You can tell them how many you want, review it, then you can add them to your cart and purchase them. You can shop all of their different flavors online too. You can, they have some really cool stuff, newer stuff too that we'll have to check out. And then they got collectibles. Pop Jones is a new thing that I'm going to have to look into and have to try some of them for you guys. A little bit about them, and then you can actually find out where you can buy them too. View, Ivy, Kroger, and Target, just to name a couple local ones for everybody in Minnesota. So yeah, that's about all I got for Jones Soda. I wish there was more information to give you on these guys, but I think this is one of those companies that the best way for you to learn more about their sodas and them is just to go check them out. They have a lot of really cool literature, and as you guys know, I'm not one to just kind of sit up here and read off a prompter to you guys. I'm more of a look at stuff, kind of put some spin on it, as you guys know. So yeah, that's what I got on Jones Soda's special release Zero Cola. I'll give it a 6.4. I'll give it a 6.4. Like I said, I do like it. It's not something that I'm raving about, but this isn't something that I'm like gonna throw back. Like, I would sip on it and enjoy it over a course of time. I think 6.4 is appropriate. So yeah, like I said, go check them out. Joda.com, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. So go check them out. Excuse me. Very similar to last week as far as Tommy Town is concerned. We really only have one update to give you guys, and that is the Minnesota men, or the St. Thomas men's hockey team is, I think they're opening the season with this, but it didn't bring that up in the website. But on October 12th, the St. Thomas Tommies will be in St. Paul at 5 p.m. at the XL Energy Center, taking on the North Dakota Fighting Hawks for the first time in their D1 history. You heard that right. Like I said, St. Thomas will battle number 18 North Dakota on Sunday, October 12th in St. Paul. They're set for a non-conference series that will take place on October 10th and 12th. Game 2 will be hosted at the XL Energy Center in the first series ever between the Fighting Hawks and the Tommies. This will be the third straight season the Tommies return to the XL Energy Center after a pair of battles with the Minnesota Golden Gophers last year and the year before. Tickets for next season's October 12th game at the X will go on sale in late August. Obviously, season ticket holders will have access to priority pre-sale opportunities. And then it's also worth noting, like I said, this will be a home-and-home series with the Fighting Hawks, as they'll square off at Ralph Engelstad Arena on October 10th before the XL matchups on the 12th. It's also worth noting the St. Thomas men's hockey team finished this last season as one of the hottest teams in college hockey with a 15-3-1 record down the stretch to the Mason Cup final. Overall, they finished their season with a 19-14-5 record. Liam Malmquist, 20 goals, 25 assists, and 45 points. And Lucas Wallen, 17 goals, 24 assists, and 41 points. Were both named to the first team All-CCHA team, and Chase Foley with 3 goals, 19 assists, and 22 points landed a spot on the second team. So super excited for this series. I'm going to have to buy a ticket myself. I grew up watching this Fighting Sioux team take on the Gophers for so many years. And to see my Tommies taking on North Dakota will be pretty special and pretty fun. Like I said, there was nothing in this article to suggest that it is going to be their season opening game. I'm inclined to think it will, if not one of the first games of the season. As I would imagine, being still early May, it'll probably be another month before the men and women's hockey teams release their schedules. So we're just going to have to wait and see where this falls on the schedule. But super stoked, super excited, for that game. And then, next up on the agenda, we have our bets for you guys. So currently with our first 2 weeks in the books for our Minny Weekend Bets, currently sitting at 4-3. 2 weeks ago, we got off to a hot start with our picks going 3-1. Last week, we got cooled off. The Twins did not win their game. They lost to the Cleveland Guardians, 3-4 in 10 innings. And then unfortunately the Wild lost the game and the series 2-3. But the Nuggets and Clippers did hit the over with 216 points, just barely, but still hit the over, putting us at 1-2 for last weekend, bringing us to our 4-3 overall. But just like always, we will bounce back. So the first pick I actually like for this upcoming week, and weirdly enough, all of these 3 games I believe are going to be on Saturday, May 10th, which makes sense because I'm doing this on Thursday for you guys, and there is a reason for that, and we'll get to that in a minute. But the first game I like is the Boston Celtics to cover the 5.5 points spread in Game 3 against the New York Knicks, despite this game being in New York. And part of my reason being the Boston Celtics were one of the best teams, not the best teams, on the road this season. Yes, I understand they're already in an 0-2 hole and they're heading to New York, but this team is just straight out too talented to go down 0-3. I think they have a very uphill battle to win this series. I think right now you're an idiot if you don't believe that the Knicks are in complete control of the driver's seat of this. I don't care how good you are for this Boston Celtics team. They are very good. It's going to be extremely difficult for them to win 4 of the last 5 games. It's going to be extremely difficult for them to do. If anybody could do it, it would be them, because they have Jason Tatum, Peyton Pritchard, Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis. But so far, they've just been doing such a terrible job of closing games out in the stretch that I think Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown are going to be ready to right the ship. I don't think it's going to be a crazy like 10-point game or anything like that. I think it'll be relatively close, but I think it'll come down to like a 6-9 point game in favor of the Boston Celtics. I think, the Celtics really struggled. One of the things I noticed for me, they really struggled with their 3-point shooting, which in the first 2 games, which I don't see that carrying on for this entire series. And like I said, they have, like it or not, they have the championship pedigree. They know what it takes to get back into a series like this. I think they understand the severity of it. The fact that if you go down 0-3, you're risking getting swept. And there's so many rumors going around about this team. And I think if this team gets swept, you're going to see some major changes at this team with new ownership coming in, with how much this roster is expected to cost and all that fun stuff. But I do anticipate them giving life into the series and covering the 5.5 points in game 3. My second pick I like for you guys is the Winnipeg Jets to win game 2. I'm just going with their money line minus 125 right now. And like I said, they're obviously going to be looking to bounce back in game 1. Very similar to the Boston Celtics. I think this team is just way too deep and have, their ability to adapt. We saw the regular season. And I think Mikko Rantanen, if I remember correctly, was a huge difference maker for the Dallas Stars and almost single-handedly beat that team. And I think they're going to be more determined to shut him down and make sure he can't get much off. And yeah, like I said, I think, I'm still not of the notion that they're going to go super, super far. I wouldn't even go as far to say that they are going to beat the Dallas Stars in this series, but I think like I said, they're too talented to not get back in the series and even it up. They essentially have the best goalie in the league in Connor Hellebuck. It's not like he gave up a ton of really bad goals. One of them, if you go back and watch it, he saved it. The puck was coming in like this, and he was saving it as he was sliding this way. He kicked it out, and Rantanen just happened to be right there and just dove for it and just barely. So it's not like. And again, that's the thing. That's the amazing thing that I love about not college, about playoff hockey. You don't see a ton of stellar goals very often. The goals that win games and the goals that are difference makers are these garbage goals that you're just like, oh my gosh, like right player, right time, and right place, everything like that. I don't know why I just botched that. But yeah, so like I said, expect Winnipeg to get back into the thick of things, making a series a one series heading back to Dallas. So take the money line minus 125. And then we're gonna get to it in a little bit. Our Minnesota Timberwolves righted the ship, got a huge commanding win in game 2 tonight. And on Saturday in game 3 in Golden State, they are going to cover the 4.5 points. I think, as much as I didn't want to admit it, the Wolves are a younger team, and I think, looking back to game 1, I think the rest did more bad than good. And it's one of those things that I don't really think we talked too much about this last time. I think when you have an old veteran team like a LeBron-led Lakers or a Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler led Golden State Warriors team, older teams, you prefer to have a little bit of rest because you're older. It's, you have more recovery, all those types of things. Whereas when you're a younger team, it's easy for you to get back and get into that habit and keep playing and stuff like that. So I think having those couple extra days off and maybe second guessing themselves, just went to very, very poor shooting. Again, I'm going to try not get into this because we want to highlight this just in a little bit. But yeah, I think the biggest reason for why I think this team is going to cover is they're still going to be without Steph Curry. And this team is just going to have to shoot the lights out. Came to play, and I think we showed on a national level, not only just the Golden State Warriors, not to us Minnesota fans because we knew it, but we showed everybody just how prominent, just how good, and just how effective our defense can be when we actually try. And we're not just giving up bad turnovers. We're not just letting the balls get easily stolen from us. We're diving for 50-50 balls. We're getting active on the boards. And the funny thing is, I was looking at the stats between these two games. Stop digressing. I anticipate the Wolves to cover the 4.5 points in game 3 to take a 2-1 lead and retake home court advantage. And the last thing I'll say about this Golden State Warriors team is I really just think they have a tall task ahead of them in trying to win this series at all or even getting back into it without Steph Curry. Prayers up to him. As much as I dislike him because he's not on the team, I am one of those sports fans that you always want to beat the best team when they're their best, and unfortunately they don't have their best player or best offensive player, I should say. So prayers go up to him. Hopefully he gets to come back and makes a speedy recovery. But yeah, those are the 3 picks that we have for you this week. We got the Boston Celtics to cover the spread, their 5.5 point spread against the Knicks in game 3 on Saturday. We got the Winnipeg Jets to win the game outright, betting the money line minus 125. over the Dallas Stars in Game 2, and then the Wolves to cover their 4.5 points. Surprised right now it's only 4.5 points after that blowout in Game 3 over the Golden State Warriors. And then, as always, rocking the UNRL, what's this one called again? The Legacy Snapback. If you like this one, this is the khaki color. Super breathable. When I first got these hats, there's like little crosses in them, and I didn't know how I felt about them. But guys, they are game changing. They don't make your head feel all that cold or warm. It lets the air get in and the breeze get in when you're golfing, to kind of cool you down when it's hot out. It's really awesome. It's very similar to their pants where they make you feel comfy, cozy. They make you feel warm, but they're also breathable, which is really cool. So yeah, like I said, the UNR, we got the Legacy Snapback Mid-Pro khaki color, and then unfortunately didn't go with UNRL tonight. This is a Lulu sweatshirt. So, oh gosh. So yeah, that's what we got for the hat that we're wearing today. And then really quickly, before I forget and before we move on, want to give a shout out to our fan Doug from Idaho. Shout out to him. Found out from a friend that he's been watching diligently almost every single episode. So Doug, if you're listening, we appreciate the love, man. All the way from Idaho. Love it. Definitely reach out and give us questions to answer for you, or topics to talk about. And yes, we will definitely get Sam back on the episode too. We have some fun things coming up, and Sam is always beloved by the listeners, and he will be back on soon. So yes, like I said, huge shout out to Doug from Idaho. Thanks for listening, and thanks for the love, man. Really appreciate it. So then moving right along, really, if I'm being completely honest, I've been watching a little bit more of the NBA playoffs thus far than the NHL playoffs so far. But from what I've seen in the NHL playoffs, I mean, with the 8 teams left, despite Toronto being up 2-0 and Dallas being up 1-0 right now, I really think there's a legitimate case you can make for these last 8 teams to win the entire thing. So it's going to be fun to watch. Oh my gosh, the Oilers just beat the Golden Knights in overtime. Oh my gosh. That's insane. Who scored that game winner? Who was it? So the Golden Knights obviously have home ice advantage. The Oilers beat them 4-2 a couple days ago, and then they just beat the Golden Knights 5 in OT. Leon Draisaitl, of course. I figured it was going to be either him or Connor McDavid. That's insane. Vegas went up 1-0 in the first period, and then 3 goals in the third period gave the Oilers a 3-2 lead going into the third. They were up 4-4, and then Leon Draisaitl making it 5-4, a 2-0 series lead going into Edmonton. I gotta say, if I'm Gary Bettman, I shouldn't even say that. There's a legitimate chance you could have a Canadian team versus a Canadian team. I don't know if the rumors are true or not, but you look at the history of the Stanley Cup over the last, I think it's since 93 when the last one. I can't help but think Bettman's maybe blackballing Canada, but we'll just leave it at that. But like I said, needless to say, still a lot of really good hockey to be played. Edmonton up 2-0 after dropping game 1 to the Hurricanes. The Capitals won earlier tonight too to tie that series up 1-1 going into Carolina. But one of the things I thought I'd touch on for the Wild here, Kirill Kaprizov. So we're going to get into something briefly, but the reason I wanted to bring this up, kind of the Wild's contract situation, is because this is going to be the first offseason since Guerin has taken over, where he's actually going to have some money to go out and not only get guys, but like re-sign some of our players, but actually go out and spend some money to get guys. We're getting a lot of money off the books, and on top of that, the salary cap is going up. So it'll be very interesting to see what he does. But what prompted this was 2 days ago, somebody was asked, or I'm sure it was in exit interviews, somebody asked Guerin about re-signing Kirill Kaprizov, who was scheduled to be, undrafted or unrestricted free agent after this upcoming 25-26 series. And he had this to say about it. I'm very confident we're going to get a deal done with Kirill. I think he really loves this market and his team. Guerin said Tuesday at the Xcel Energy Center 5 days after the Wild were eliminated. I think he feels that we're going in the right direction. And then as a note, Kaprizov, who has 386 points in 319 regular season games, and 21 points in 25 playoff games with the Wild. Said as much over the weekend. I love everything here. Kaprizov said should be all good. So I'm guessing. Let's see what he's at. I'm guessing, Krill is just coming off of what's that? He's just coming off of a 4-year. This will be year 5-year contract where he's making $9 million a year. I mean, he's probably going to want a little bit more than what he's currently making, but he's still the highest paid guy on our team by far. I would anticipate he's probably going to want at least 10. I don't think he's going to want Kucherov money, but we're just going to have to wait and see and be patient. So with that, I kind of took a look at the Wild's contracts, who's under contracts and all that kind of stuff. And if I'm being completely honest with you guys, unless Guerin makes some trades and kind of dumps some guys, this team is going to look relatively the same next year. There is one guy I look at, Marco Rossi, who is scheduled to be a restricted free agent, which for those that don't know, the only difference between a restricted free agent versus an unrestricted free agent is technically Marco Rossi can talk to any team, but before signing with said team, so let's just say for the sake of arguing, let's say the Pittsburgh Penguins come in and say, Marco, you had an unbelievable year. We want to give you, let's just see what he was just making. Oh gosh, this is a bad look. Sorry, guys. So Marco Rossi was just making, oh gosh, he wasn't even making $1 million. He's not really ready to probably make Kirill money, but let's say, this last year he was making $863,000. So let's say some team, he talks to some team, or the Pittsburgh Penguins come say, hey, Marco, we want to give you, a $5.5 million a year contract. The only difference between unrestricted and restricted free agent is if Marco comes back, hears that, and he wants that, boom, he can leave, no problem. Restricted free agent means if Pittsburgh or a team like that were to offer him $5.5 million, the Wild would have the option to counter with that or more before he makes his decision. So all the restricted means is that the team he's currently in ultimately gets a chance to match it. Doesn't always mean the player is going to take it, but it means you have the chance to, match it. So that is all that means. But so far, other than that, Justin Brazeau, Marcus Johansson, Gustav Nyquist, and Devin Shore are all going to be unrestricted free agents. So that means you got Matt Boldy, Joel Eriksson, Foligno, Gaudreau, Hartman, Hinostroza, Kaprizov, Liam Holmgren, Trennan, and Zuccarello. So, 10 of 12 forwards that play on a nightly basis, you got 10 of them coming back. And then even on the defensive side too, Declan Chisholm is going to set to be in restricted free agent, but this upcoming season, you got Zach Bogosian, Jonas Brodin, Zeev Boyum, Brock Faber, Carson Lambos, Jake Middleton, and Jared Spurgeon all coming back, and that's 7 defensemen, and on any given night, you're only playing 6 of them. Then obviously Fleury is retiring but playing for Canada in the World Cup or whatever is coming up here. But both Philip Gustafson and Jesper Wallstedt are under contract too. So like I said, it'll be interesting to see what he can do. Looking at these names like Boldy, Eriksson, Kirill, Liam Holmgren, Zuccarello, Trennan, Rossi are probably not going anywhere. He might feel like he can maybe package a couple of these guys with a pick to get a top 6 guy or something like that. You just don't know what he's got cooking up his sleeve. But like I said, you got a lot of guys coming back, which can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing too. I love Gaudreau. I really like Foligno. I shouldn't say that about. I really like Foligno. I do like Hartman. I do like Zuccarello. But some of these guys are just kind of getting up there in age, and you kind of start to wonder, okay, how much longer do you hold on to them, even if they are your assistant captain, and just kind of, go from there. But yeah, like I said, so for the most part, this team is going to be bringing back most of its roster, unless some of these guys get cut, traded. But yeah, so should be interesting to see what happens in the coming months. Obviously, there's still a lot of hockey to be played, and just like in any sport, you're not going to see the Wild or anybody really doing much movement, much anything. Like everybody's on vacation right now. Once the Stanley Cup gets raised, I think it's late June, early July. I want to say once that gets raised, give it 2 to 3 weeks, and then you'll start to see some movement. Things like that happen. So still a little while until we can, but let's enjoy some good playoff hockey for our hockey lovers out there. For us. And then our beloved Minnesota Timberwolves. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. A big part of why I decided to do the podcast tonight instead of last night, I was really hoping for some good news to talk to you about with the Timberwolves, because that game one, holy shit, was that hard to watch. It was so hard to watch because this team scored 11 points in the second quarter. 11 points in the second quarter. And the thing that frustrates me the most about that scheme is even if they managed 20 points, you're going into halftime only down 4. And these runs that they were able to put on in the second half, you could have won that game. Like, this was such a winnable game, but we were pushing the 3 ball way too early. A lot of them were it's not like they were wide open shots. They were contested 3-point shots. It was rough to watch. We shot an egregious 39% from the floor, 5 for 29 from 3-point range. And then to top that off, we got fucking out rebounded 51 to 45. We gave up 18 offensive rebounds. The Warriors got 10 steals to our 7, and we gave up 16 turnovers and gave up 10 points off those turnovers. I mean, it was just a bad game. It was a bad game. And like I said, the worst part about it is we could have easily fucking won that game. If we wouldn't have forced the 3-ball as much in the second quarter and actually driven, maybe got a couple baskets, we could have really won this game, because Steph Curry went out this game. And it's frustrating to not see them up 2-0 going into Golden State. But hey, at least we got the win, because tonight's win, unbelievable. We went wire to wire. It was beautiful. You had, it sucked to see Ant go out that way, but you saw everybody coming to life. You had Julius Randle shooting 10 of 17, going for 24 points, 11 assists, 7 rebounds. Jade McDaniels went off for 16 points. Anthony Edwards had a 20-point, 9-rebound, 5-assist game with 3 steals and a block. You had Nickeil Alexander-Walker coming off the bench for 20 points, going 4 for 6 from 3-point range. Naz Reid with 11 points. The only guy that was listed on our roster that didn't play was Joe Ingles, and a lot of guys scored points. And what gives me hope, not only for my pick for the Wolves to cover the 4.5 points in Game 3, but what gives me confidence, we are a very good defensive team. Excuse me. But actually, really quickly, one of the things I wanted to address, I was talking to a friend tonight about this game, and he made a very good and interesting point. He said the Warriors are a really good defensive team, and now they don't have Steph Curry. And the point he was trying to make was, even with Steph Curry, they're a decent defensive team. Steph Curry is really like their only liability on defense. Most other players can have a little bit of size, a little bit of length, and can play some decent defense. But now with Steph Curry out, you look at this team and you say, they're still an okay, they probably got a little bit better on the defensive side, but you still need to manage to score points, right? So, which begs the question, where are the Warriors going to get that offense? Because now you have Jimmy Butler moving into the position of Steph Curry, where he's going to be relied on to be their number one option. And tonight he got 17 points on 6 of 13 shooting from the field, which isn't terrible, but that's not great for your first option. But Hield now is going to take into the steps of Jimmy Butler, solid number 2 option, and to get you points and have a good game. Buddy Hield finished with 15 points on 5 of 14 shooting. Not great. And then you're looking at a point where you're like, all right, now who is going to be the guy to step into the Buddy Hield role? And tonight, it looked like that was Jonathan Kuminga, 18 points. So that brings up the point of, are you going to get that solid third option? And they actually did a decent job of kind of spreading the ball around tonight. Outside of those guys, you had, like I said, Kuminga led the way with 18. Jimmy had 17. Buddy Hield and Tyrese Jackson Davis finished with 15 apiece, and then you had Brandon Pochemski finish with 11. But that's not going to beat a team that is unbelievable on defense. Now, obviously, our defense had affected some of those shooting numbers and stuff like that. But yeah, we are 100% in the driver's seat in this series, despite it being tied 1-1. And it's because of how quickly we're going to be playing these games. And with Steph Curry out, so Steph Curry, it was announced, yesterday on the 7th that said a week from today, he will be reevaluated, which means, for those that don't know, which means he was out tonight. Game 3 is on the 10th. He's going to be out that game. And then Game 4 is the 12th. He's going to be out that game. Game 5 is the 13th. No, they said that on the 6th. So he's going to be evaluated early in Game 5. Before Game 5. Unless Curry is like at least 90% ready to go, which I highly doubt, he's probably going to miss Game 5. And the Timberwolves, if we continue to play hard-nosed basketball, what the heck? Hard-nosed basketball, we're capable of being effective with shooting, being active on the glass, we will win the next 3 games with no Steph Curry. Like, at least with Steph Curry, they have a chance because Steph Curry can drop 42 points in his sleep. But so if I were a betting man, these hamstring injuries aren't any bit of a joke. Go watch wide receiver 1. It shows Justin Jefferson with his hamstring injury that year. And as much as a fan, you're just like, God, quit being a pussy. Like, suck it up. Like, come on. Like, get back out there. These hamstring injuries are no joke, especially they're those kind of injuries that it doesn't really matter if you're old or young. Like, if you hurry up the process and you go out there and you play to your explosive level when you're not supposed to, you can fuck up your entire leg and your entire career, regardless of if you're 21 or 37. Now, that's the situation Steph Curry is in right now, and truthfully, I'm inclined to believe that if you're Steph Curry and this management, I'm inclined to think if I'm manager or higher up in the Golden State Warriors organization, if I know after this year Steph Curry wants 1 or 2 more years to go at it, I'm probably going to have a conversation with him and say, look, I think you should sit this series out. And if we can get by the Minnesota Timberwolves, we can talk about you playing. But I think we need to sit this series out with the assumption that we might have a chance to win next year or the year after. But here's the thing, and nobody knows, this is all speculation, if Steph Curry has already told this organization, hey, this is going to be my last year, then you say, okay, maybe we give it a go in Game 5, see how it feels. Okay, maybe we give it a go again in Game 6, see how it feels. Give it a go in Game 7 and take it kind of day by day. I'm inclined to think it's the latter just because there aren't a whole lot of guys in today's league that are kind of hush-hush on when they're going to be done. They usually like to tell it beforehand so you can kind of get your farewell tour, which I am all for. So I'm inclined to think that they're probably going to err on the side of rest, which is a lose-lose situation. Obviously, on any given night, the basketball fan in me, you want to see him going up against your team because you want to beat these teams at their absolute best. And I want to see our Avenger Slayer get back and throw these guys to the ashes and go back to the Western Conference Finals like he predicted. But with him out, I think we're the superior team. I think we have more depth. I think we have more size. I think we have more length. And I think when we're playing our brand of basketball, we are one tough motherfucking team to beat. But moving on, how crazy, with the New York Knicks being up 2-0 right now, how crazy would it be to see the Knicks and the Timberwolves face off in the 2025 NBA Finals? That would be insane. That would be so crazy to see 2 teams that literally swapped superstars fit pretty damn near perfectly on each team and say, okay, all for the marbles. Who did this trade actually benefit more? And we could very well see it. We could very well see it because, truthfully, if you want my honest to God opinion, I think it's very possible at this point. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers are in a world of hurt right now. They're probably more cause for concern, like between Cleveland Cavaliers being down 0-2 and the Boston Celtics being down 0-2. the Cavaliers are in a lot more trouble than the Boston Celtics are. And that is because the Cleveland Cavaliers are without Darius Garland, they're without Evan Mobley, and they're without Ty Jerome. So now you got Donovan Mitchell, who was great in his own right, but he's having to go out and pretty much win this outright. And nobody knows when those three guys are going to be back. At this point, I could see Indiana winning that series, and I would be surprised if it goes 6 games at this point without those guys coming back. I could very well see the Knicks winning this one in 6 games. We're going to have to see what cat we get. Is Josh Hart going to continue to be playing well? Is Jalen Brunson going to continue to be Superman? But I think it's very realistic we see Timberwolves and Knicks in the NBA Finals, but we are going to have to wait and find out. First of all, I understand for that to happen, we still need to get by the Golden State Warriors. You know, would still need to have to beat either the OKC Thunder or the Denver Nuggets. But if I'm being completely honest with you guys, we have proven that we can beat both of those teams. It would be good, entertaining, good series, but we've shown that we can beat those teams this season. So yeah, stay tuned. I guess before we should go, I should give you guys an update too. So with the conclusion of the Wolves game tonight, heading to Denver, the series between the Nuggets and Thunder are tied at 1 apiece. Same with the Warriors, Wolves, like we were just talking about, and then heading back to Indianapolis. Indiana is up 2-0 on the number 1 seeded Cleveland Cavaliers, and the New York Knicks are up on the number 2 seeded Boston Celtics heading into New York for games 3 and 4. So lots of exciting things to look for. Tomorrow we have Cleveland, Indiana going live at 6:30 p.m. and then Oklahoma City and Denver game 3 at 9 p.m. before Saturday's matchups with Boston, New York, and us in Golden State. And yeah, should be fun. Can't wait to see how it all rolls out. And so glad we got to win tonight. So glad we got to win. I knew we were going to win. Came to fruition. We had to talk about it tonight, and it wasn't all just talking bad stuff about the Timberwolves. So, last but not least, not a lot to talk about the Vikings this week, but did want to give you guys a quick little preview. Next week, we will be at it again Wednesday nights like our usual time on the 14th, and it is going to be a good one. It's going to be late because something super special is happening on the 14th. The NFL is releasing its schedule for this upcoming season. So, for those of you that maybe don't remember, we made some predictions on what was going to happen. So, we're going to find out, are the Eagles going to open up the season against the Detroit Lions or the LA Rams? Are the Chargers going to take on the Commies in the first international game? Or, I can't remember who else I thought it was going to be. But then lastly, are the Vikings going to be home or away in game 1? I was leaning towards being away, and I said if we were going to be away, it was going to be probably at Dallas, maybe Seattle. But I said if it was home, it was going to be Cincy. And if we're home against Cincy week 1, you can bet your ass. You can go to the bank and deposit it. I will be at that game to see us take on Joe Shiesty, and it's going to be pretty fun. I don't know if we're going to do it next week or if we're going to do like a little TikTok or something for you guys, but one of the things I always like to look at is once the schedule comes out, the win totals that they put out for teams. So after they do that, we will show you guys some of our favorites for betting overs, favorites for betting unders, and go from there. So per usual, that is what we have for you guys this week. Go make sure you go to the YouTube page, click the bell notification button, and subscribe to get notified of the new episodes as soon as they come out. Make sure you go follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And most importantly, make sure you go to your podcast listening site if it's not YouTube, subscribe so you can get notified as soon as the new episode comes out on a weekly basis and all our extra episodes. Till next time, Minny.